Hey friends, it's Jay, and I am once again following in the footsteps of a father figure of mine who recently, 6 months ago, began just releasing some little 5-minute videos on a regular basis. And I thought I'd love to do that because there are things that I think, in 5 minutes could be helpful and encouraging. It's just some things that I'm learning. And I'm constantly asking the question, as I have been for years, God, what does it look like to be your son? What does it feel like to be your son? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? I want you to teach me how to be a son. So we're in live ammo training right now. And anyway, I'm in my backyard and I'm sharing with you a little bit of my excitement, just to let you into my world. I actually have rainwater here. It actually rained after an entire summer of drought conditions, 106, that just destroyed my garden. Didn't get a single jalapeno, even after investing time and money and water into it. And so when it rained the other night, I collected rainwater with buckets all over the house and even a wheelbarrow back there, because this rainwater is so much better than the stuff that comes out of the hose, which you can even smell the chlorine. It smells like a YMCA swimming pool, and those chemicals are not good for the garden. And I think one of the things that I'm working through right now, like what is really present for me right now, is how am I dealing with anxiety? How am I dealing with fear? Because these have been highlighted and heightened in the last several months. So how am I dealing with those on a regular basis? And a couple of years ago, after I'd been praying and asking God for the piece of our father-son story that seemed to be missing, which was the dialogue. I want to learn how to talk with you. I need to receive your intimate counsel, but it's just not something I have even a lot of faith for, to talk to you and to hear back from you. And so just praying that God would send me help, he did. And one of the first ways that they broke down the barriers in me hearing God's voice is they said, a lot of the barriers between you and God, God's going to expose that as part of him training you to hear his voice. You're just not going to miraculously begin to hear him. He's actually going to do the favor to you. He's going to give you the gift of revealing the things that are in the way, the lies that you're believing. In other words, the story that you're telling yourself. So this Yoda, Casey Harris, which some of you are familiar with, she said, here's what you do. Ask a question of yourself and then ask the same question of God. So for example, how are you feeling? How's your body feeling? How's your mind feeling? Just something really basic. And what's crazy about that is that so often we don't even know what we're feeling because we're so busy, we're so hyped up, we're so much of our life is so hurried trying to pack stuff in that we don't even know what we're feeling, what we're wanting, what we're needing. We don't know the story that we're telling ourselves. So here is what I want to suggest to you, because it's been really helpful to me. When I'm feeling anxious, when I'm feeling fearful, when I'm feeling angry, when something makes me feel out of alignment with God, not walking in joy, not walking in peace, I am finding a lot of success by simply first asking the question, okay, Jay, what's the story that I'm telling myself? And you have to pause, and I have to think, and then I have to articulate that. It could just be a sentence, a simple sentence. And I'll take an example. I'll give you an example. Both of my kids are now in college, and they don't call as often as I'd like. They don't ask my advice for things. Common empty nester problem. it's now common to me, but it's new to me, right? So what's the story that I'm telling myself? I'm telling myself that my kids don't appreciate my wisdom. My kids only want me for my money, blah, blah, blah. There's other things that could explain the story that I'm telling myself. So now I can ask God the question, okay, with regards to this situation with my kids, God, what's the story that I'm telling myself? And then God will take it deeper. God will say, the story you're telling yourself is that you should be afraid of losing your kids. I go, yeah. The story that you're telling yourself is that you will end up being alone and your kids will be on the other side of the world or something like that. I'm like, okay, yes, that's true. That is what I'm telling myself, right? So I've just, it's so much easier for me to ask God a question once I know what I'm really struggling with, right? So that's, we'll just call this a 3-step process that I can engage in whether I'm walking, journaling, anywhere. First, what's the story I'm telling myself? 2, God, you tell me because you know better. What's the story that I'm telling myself? And then I let him, by the power of the Holy Spirit, reveal to me what's even deeper. What's the real root of the fear? And then I can say, okay, God, what do you say to that? And it really helps me when I have a journal to hear what he has to say. And okay, I'm hearing him say right now, you were the same way as a kid, and look at your affection for your parents now. This is normal. You don't need to worry. And what you're feeling is normal. Okay, awesome. So the invitation is, 1, is to engage with God, invite him into the things that feel like they're bringing you out of alignment with him, out of alignment with your truth, with joy, with peace, with the other things that being in alignment with God actually brings you. Ask yourself the question, what is the story I'm telling myself? Then go, okay, God, you know better than me. What's the story that I'm telling myself? Let him speak it to you. It should feel deeper, more true, revealing. And one of the surprising things is just having Jesus tell you that he knows better than you what's going on inside your heart. It already begins to re-heal and reestablish the connection with him. It already brings a calmness to the place of anxiety. And you realize that just going through this exercise requires you to get still for a little bit, which is exactly what God says. Be still and know that I'm God. So you're doing what God says. You're about to receive his favor and his peace and his blessing. And then after you know the story you're telling yourself, then you can ask God the question, what do you want me to know about this? So anyway, just a couple of thoughts that have been total rescues to me that I'm leaning into. They are primary tools in my arsenal for staying in union with God. So I hope this helps.